All right. Welcome back to the collapse experiment. And yeah, I'm starting this feed early because usually I don't tend to have too many live viewers, but things are picking up. I'm getting some more subscribers. Thank you very much. If you like this video and the things I talk about, please like and subscribe, share the video. Um, Depending on the subject, don't do it on Facebook because I highly doubt they'll like me. And why should I care? Facebook is collapsing. That's other great news. So, anyways, to get to the subject at hand, yeah, this is episode 666. Uh, kind of saw that on there, and I was like, wow, I've done 666 videos. It's kind of fitting that this should be about the end of our economic dominance across the world, as we're going to see. So there's a lot of things that are coming out about the SVB uh, bank collapse. A lot of things that were in the background that nobody really knew about, and things that Biden admitted that he shouldn't have, I guess, because a lot of criticism is, how did you not see this coming? How did the bank not see this coming? And yet Biden himself said, we knew in the middle of last week this was happening. The middle of last week, but it was announced Friday that the bank was insolvent. So yeah, they had a heads up. And apparently they gave somebody else a heads up too, because an Israeli bank was notified, hey, we're going to take possession of this. And if you want to get your money out, you should probably do it now. It's weird. They put the interest of an Israeli bank who had invested in SVB ahead of the interest of US citizens. We haven't seen this before at all in foreign countries like Ukraine. Um, so yeah, that came out. I thought that was very interesting. They allowed bonuses to still be paid to staff who had screwed up their own bank. That had already come out. Um, and the other really interesting thing that's been spoken about quite a bit. I've been following this as much as I can, and one of the things that's been pointed out repeatedly is that FTX, the crypto-based, could you call it a bank? I don't know, an investing firm, but it was crypto-based. It wasn't based on the U.S. dollar. There's no FDIC, uh, but it's interesting. No bailout whatsoever, even though this guy had donated a lot of money to the Democratic Party. However, um, funneling crypto money to the Democratic Party, who has a huge issue with independent currencies, kind of was that planned? Was it? Yeah. And Signature also invested in crypto, right? They're not getting the same bailout, the FDIC bailout, as SVB. Weird. SVB is also a tech bank. Who has the federal government been working with for the last several years, collecting intel, information, getting accounts banned, paying Twitter to ban accounts, yada, yada. You know what I'm getting at. And SVB gets bailed out because perhaps all these tech companies go through them, and if they can't access their money and pay their employees and keep afloat, how are they going to spy on us? Just pointing that out. But no, we've got this other scandal here. If all that wasn't bad enough, if Israel getting a heads up before U.S. citizens wasn't bad enough, if them saving the same companies who have been spying on us for years now isn't bad enough, no. Another scandal, Biden administration, radicals blocked SVB sale. They tried selling the bank to somebody else to make it solvent again. And Biden blocked it. Let's take a look at this. Then Biden nationalized it, then blamed Trump for the collapse. Dude, you've been in office for 2 years, right? If if you if you really wanted to re-implement the things that Trump had taken care of or gotten rid of, depending on how you want to look at it, you had the time to do that. Instead of spending taxpayer dollars to nationalize Silicon Valley Bank, a, a private buyer favored by the Treasury and the Federal Reserve had emerged, only to be nixed by FDIC Chairman Martin Gruenberg, according to the Wall Street Journal, citing a source with knowledge of the situation. So they had somebody lined up who was approved, authorized, was competent in what they were trying to do with SVB. And Biden's like, no. Kevin Hassett, former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under Trump, told Fox Business that there were buyers who were willing to step in and buy SVB, but the radicals at the FDIC basically weren't going to allow that to happen. The government didn't have to step in. They didn't have to use your tax dollars and your tax dollars and my tax dollars in order to save the money of rich people. No, they didn't have to do that. The Biden administration had a white list of companies that were allowed to buy the failed bank and companies that weren't. White people were probably not allowed to buy it. If this is true, said Gaben founder Tom Elliott, this is another Biden scandal. Yeah. You're going to say who's allowed and who's not to? What kind of BS is that? Did they not have a good ESG score? Because SVB had a great ESG score. Just saying, if this is true and the Wall Street Journal is also reporting it, then this is another Biden scandal. Rather than letting the free market resolve a somewhat ordinary bank collapse, they used the opportunity to nationalize SVB using tax money to ensure their campaign donors were made whole. This guy, Tom Elliott, yes, dead on the money. I've never donated to you again unless you save my $500 million, is probably the phone calls they were getting over the weekend. Kevin Hassett reveals there were buyers who were willing to step in. Okay, that's another tweet, and we've already heard that. While most banks have hedged their interest rate risk and diversified their deposits, SVB and Signature Bank did not. Yet President Biden is, of course, blaming former President Donald Trump, because that's what you do when you don't know how to do your job. You point at somebody else and blame them, even if they don't work there anymore. Does that work? Does that seriously work? Because if I get blamed for something at work again, can I just point the finger at some dude that left like 3 months ago? I'm pretty sure that's not going to go over well with your boss. For modifying certain rules from the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act and the 2018 bipartisan banking law, which raised the threshold to classify financial institutions as systemically important from $50 billion in assets to $250 billion. Yet, as the journal notes, Barney Frank, co-author of Dodd-Frank, thinks that's BS. That's literally what it says. Don't get mad at me, YouTube. As the entire point of the 2018 legislation was to reduce costly compliance on mid-sized banks, they also could be more competitive with the giants, and later, in the latter of which benefit from a lower cost of funding due to their implicit government backstop. In short, the Dodd-Frank legislation was driving more deposits to large banks, while mid-sized banks forced to comply with the same regulations were at a disadvantage. Okay, maybe there is something to that. But let's see here, something deeper afoot. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Biden's blame game aside, crypto VC Nick Carter has some very interesting thoughts on what went down in regards to the shuttering of Signature Bank, calling it colossal scandal. Dear God, Barney Frank openly admits that Signature was arbitrarily shuttered despite no insolvency because regulators wanted to kill off the last major pro crypto bank colossal scandal. Did he seriously say this? Let's see what this has to say, or am I just not allowed in Twitter? I'm not allowed in Twitter. So I don't know what Barney Frank has to say, but you could probably look it up yourself if you have a Twitter account. This article and everything else I'm reading from can be found at theclassexperiment.com. Heard this independently from other sources as well. I suspect as much last night, but confirmed today. Signature was executed last night, not due to any runs, but as a political scalp intended to be veiled by the fog of war. So Signature didn't fail. They just took it over because it's operated by crypto. That's interesting. Apparently, even FDIC was surprised when it was dropped into their hands. The claim justification was Signature's Signet product, which was perceived to be systemic. My conclusion is that politicians like Liz Warren, together with regulatory bodies, uh, fragilized crypto banks. I don't know. I feel like sometimes they just like, what's a crazy ass word I can put in here to sound smart? Fragilize, fragile, fragile. Anyways, regulatory bodies, that word, crypto banks, and encouraged runs against them, which used withdrawals as a pretext to close them down. So Signature was fine. It's just other people seem to have an issue with it. What is meant to be a surgical operation became a massive banking crisis. Lastly, if you don't think Barney Frank has a reliable read on the situation, the Frank and Dodd-Frank, former chair of the House Financial Committee, I can't help you. Yeah, okay, so first you have SVB. They get bailed out. You have Signature Bank not getting bailed out because they're saying that anybody who put their money in crypto is an investor, not somebody who has a deposit. Even though technically it's a currency, it's just not a US currency. Find that to be very interesting. So it seems like, in my eyes, I would have to say Biden did have the executive order stating that they wanted to look into doing some form of digital currency through the Federal Reserve. And most printed money doesn't even cover the actual money that is in our economy right now because it's already digitized. We transfer it through ones and zeros all the time. Even when you write a check, and you send it out to pay your bill, that's not actual cash getting sent over to that company. It's all digital. But now they want to completely eliminate cash altogether. We don't even have enough cash in our system that if people did withdraw their money from the banks, there's not enough cash out there in print to cover all the accounts that are in existence. So I think it's like 2%, something like that. I heard yesterday. It's like 2% of all the actual money is in cash form. So, anyways, they're going to try to kill cash. In order to do that, they have to have a dominant form of digital currency that Bitcoin and Dogecoin and all these different cryptos out there, they have to get rid of them first. And otherwise, why would you decide to have something like if the actual US dollar failed, how how would you convince people that by the way, you might want to trade that Bitcoin for this new form of the US dollar? Oh, really? Because I'm pretty sure the other one went bankrupt recently. Yeah. Um, They basically have to kill other cryptos in order to implement this. Otherwise, people are just gonna look at it and go like, "Why the hell would I trust that?" So, the other one, and this is where I believe not only is Washington doing shady shit, but we're also having an economic war as it is. And both things are happening at the same time. Markets price and central bank panic as Credit Suisse risk soars. Why is it soaring? Let me get to this. Mm, did they freaking update this? I think they updated this because this isn't the same article that I posted on the website. Aside from the global de-risking, anxiety over Credit Suisse has sparked a huge dovish response in federal expectations with the odds of blah, 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 blah. Get to the freaking investor. The investor who pulled out. Where is it? Saudi National Bank. Yeah, you heard that right. Saudi National Bank, which is a 30% owned by the Kingdom's Sovereign Wealth Fund, also known as the royal family, is Credit Suisse's largest shareholder as of late 2022 after acquiring a 9.9 stake. Al Khudairi said that there's no plans in the moment to take the stakes over at 10% threshold because of regulatory hurdles. In the last several months, since the bank's equity has been on the waterfall lower, the Saudis have lost more than 500 million francs in their position. The news the Saudis are perhaps done supporting the troubled Swiss bank sent shares down as much as 25% to the new record low. Saudis are looking at pulling out of Swiss bank, is what's happening here. Credit Suisse. And of course, this is just killing international banking altogether. Who did the Saudis just recently make a pact with? Oh, and who put that together? China? So let me get this straight. A week or two ago, China goes to Iran and Saudi Arabia and says, "Hey, you guys, if you guys got together, it'd be amazing. It'd be awesome." And the Saudis were like, "Hell yeah, well, why not? We don't have any problems with Iran. Iraq does, but no, we don't." So yeah, China brokers this deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Now, who does Iran not like? And to be honest, I don't think Saudi Arabia, quite frankly, likes us either. They funded 9/11, whatever. So yeah, they get together, and then all of a sudden, when all this banking stuff happens, Saudi Arabia is like, "Yeah, we're gonna pull our money out of Credit Suisse," which I'm guessing probably has a lot of U.S. money in it as well. So not only is this whole banking system failure going overseas, but now it's being provocateured by, yeah, our I'm going to say former allies, because they do not have anybody's best interest at heart except for their own. Which, can you blame them? I mean, when you're rich and powerful, you want to protect yourself in being rich and powerful. It is possible that the regional banking crisis is not yet resolved and may even be spreading across the Atlantic. It is spreading across the Atlantic. The UK already took over SVB's UK branch. They bought it for just over $1. Yeah. So they're trying to prevent stuff over there, but holy shit. So if the banks over in the EU start crashing, how exactly do they fund the war in Ukraine? Because you need money to do that. If you don't have any money, you can't buy weapons. It's and of course, banks do like war because take it from all the guys back in World War One who funded both sides. Yeah, if we fund both sides, we'll be on the winning side eventually. And of course, that kept World War I going a lot longer than it needed to. So yeah, um, the Saudis are now tinkering around with these banks. They're pulling money out, which is making the stocks and these banks insolvent. And this comes right after that deal was brokered with China. And of course, China is part of BRICS. And what is BRICS doing? They want to create a digital currency backed by gold. That's the one thing the US can't do, is create a digital currency backed by something of value. And yeah, once we lose the ability to back our dollar with Saudi oil, which is what happened back in the 70s, and I'm pretty sure we're very, very close to doing that since Saudi Arabia is agreeing to trade their oil in other currencies as of right now. Why the hell would they need our dollar? Especially if Russia, China, if all the BRIC nations get together and say we now have this uniform digital currency backed by something of actual tangible value, everybody's going to jump on board with that. And you don't need the dollar anymore. And then all of a sudden, everybody's bank accounts here, they'll have all the ones and zeros in it, but there's going to be more zeros with nothing in front of it when it comes to the value. So yeah, that's what is happening when it comes to all this banking stuff. Biden does not have your best interest at heart. He's uh, more in tune with donors. He's more in tune with Israel, of course. Um, if you invested in anything other than the U.S. dollar, um, you're screwed. So congratulations to you. Of course, the U.S. is not going to back you, but and I have to wonder: was Signature insured by the FDIC, and is it just the crypto portion of it, or was the whole bank backed by crypto? This is something I'll have to look into. So yeah, this is what's happening. It's a complete S show, and yeah, Biden just Biden loves his scandals. He loves his scandals. I'm so glad he's got the most competent financial advisor in the world, Hunter Biden, to tell him what to do. At least Biden's getting his 10%. Keep on typing.